it down. Bring it down.
All right. I don't know what happened there to my intro video, but this is Sam with Sam Shady with Shady Sports Network. You get something ingrained in your head, and apparently it's hard to get it out. But anyway, today I'm joining with you guys live because my Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints agreed to a very, very large trade that will actually see 8 draft picks change hands. If you haven't heard about it, Adam Schefter just broke the news a little while ago on Twitter. He was the first to report it, although it is now being confirmed all over the place. Philadelphia will send the number 16, number 19, and number 194 overall pick to New Orleans in exchange for their 18th overall pick in 2022, the 101st overall pick in 2022, and the 237th overall pick in 2022. They also gained a first-round pick in 2023 and a second-round pick in 2024. So, what does this accomplish for the Eagles? What does this accomplish for the Saints? If you look at the Eagles and you look at the Saints, they're two very different teams and two very different rosters right now. The Saints, they've got veteran quarterbacks right now that are more expensive guys. They're guys that are proven and they've brought in to build that quarterback room so they don't have to worry about it as much. On the other hand, Philadelphia has Jalen Hurts, who's coming off his first year as a starting quarterback in the NFL. This is significant because he played well, but did not cement his status by any stretch of imagination as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Maybe another team would take a chance on him if he's back to Philadelphia. At this point, all he's really got behind him is about 21 starts in 2020 and 21 season. He played well, like I said. He showed enough support for the Eagles through their support behind him. But after this trade came out, I kind of wonder if their support being thrown behind him wasn't more so because of the quarterback class this year. It's no secret that this quarterback draft class is not the strongest class that we've seen in the last couple of years, and it is perceived that the 2023 draft class will be much stronger. So essentially, this allows the Eagles to shift some insurance, so to speak, into next season. I have a guest joining me. Why don't you guys welcome Curtis Hagan? What's up, Curtis? How's it going, man? Thanks for joining me.
What's going on? I'm actually driving right now. I'm gonna hit an area right here that I might lose reception here, but I'll call back if I do. But I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm definitely doing good. I'm interested to see your opinion on this trade we just saw go down. Did you see the report yet?
Yeah, I seen that the Eagles, they traded their 16th and they had the 18th pick.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great trade for the Eagles because the Eagles have the 15th pick this year. I think they had the 15th pick, they had the 16th pick, and I think they had the 18th. And then I think they traded it for the 19th pick this year, and then pick next year, first round. I'm sure there was some other picks that were not first round. I didn't really read into it too much, but I think it's a great pick because it's not the richest draft class for some of the Eagles' needs, obviously, and for them to get into the first, the top 10 for any of those, super lottery picks that everybody's wanting, they would have to give up way too much. So I really think it's a good thing for them to, get more picks out of that trade. When I saw that you messaged and you said that there was a massive trade, I was wondering if it had to do with Michael Thomas, but you know what I mean? I'd like to see him moved out of New Orleans and maybe come back to what he did in 2018, 2019,
Absolutely. I would have loved to see Michael Thomas in Philadelphia, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that's going to happen quite yet. His cap number is quite large, and I don't believe we have the room to fit it under the cap anymore. But like you said, this is definitely a trade that gives us a little bit of insurance in the future. I think it has more to do with Jalen Hurts than anything. I think the Eagles are kind of hedging their bets and hoping that Jalen Hurts proves them wrong, but this also opens the door for them to select a quarterback in 2023 because now they'll have 2 first-round picks next season as well as 2 second-round picks in 2024 they can use for ammunition to move up if needed.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree. I know that, I don't know if you've seen, I'm not a, I want Jalen Hurts to win. I really do, but I'm not a big fan, especially the Eagles. I know you're an Eagles fan. I'm not trying to hate. I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm around them a lot. But I want to be successful, but we want to be successful. And the Eagles, I don't know how they snuck in the playoffs, but I don't know if you lost me, but I don't know how they snuck in last year, and they did, but the offense was just anemic looking against the Buccaneers. He throws interceptions too often. I really think you're right. See how Hurts does here for the Eagles. They have a good team. They can win. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Last year, Commanders, they were the football team last year. But,
all right.
It is what it is.
All right, so I actually lost Curtis. Like he said, he went through a little bit of a bad stretch as far as service. This was kind of a trade none of us saw coming, so I kind of threw out to our little media group and saw if anybody wanted to join me live, and this would be the first time Curtis actually has hopped on live, so I definitely will get him back on here as soon as he can get some better service. But like I said before he hopped on, this gives the Eagles a little bit of insurance. This allows them to go into the 2022 season building around the quarterback rather than having to focus on trying to get a better quarterback. What does this mean for them? This means that Jalen Hurts is absolutely going to be starting in the 2022 season. It also means that they are highly likely to target ancillary positions to help him out long term and give him some weapons around him to help succeed. And this only makes sense if you think there's a possibility that you ultimately draft another quarterback down the line. Here's Curtis. Let's see if he's got a little bit better service now.
Yeah, I don't know where I cut out at. Sometimes the mountains up here don't have the best cell phone service, but
it's all good, man.
I was talking about, I think that them hedging on drafting a quarterback next year is probably their best bet. I'm not the biggest fan of what Jalen Hurts has brought to the table, especially with the hype, and I'm always pro quarterback, especially when I always like underdogs, so I kind of like when people doubt him, but he just hasn't lived up to the hype. I mean, fantasy-wise, he's a stud. You can't ask for better production for a fantasy quarterback, but the playoff game against the Bucs, it was anemic. It was just 3-and-out or interception almost every drive, and if he's not running for a first down, it's hit or miss if he's going to hit the receivers. And I know they brought in his buddy to be a receiver, but the connection wasn't there on the pro level. They say the game's faster. So, but again, he could play out of this world this year, and the Eagles could win the NFC East. So I think it's up for grabs. I know the Giants are the only team I'm going to say that can't win, and I'll even give the Commanders. I mean, Dallas might not even win the NFC East. It could be a 3-way showdown for that. But the Eagles have proven that they can make the playoffs. They have a strong defense. They still have a strong run game, obviously. But I think it was a great trade for them to get some capital back and invest in their future. Just like you said, if they are not set on Jalen Hurts at the end of this year,
Absolutely. I definitely think you hit the nail on the head. Like you said, Jalen Hurts left a lot to be desired in 2021. And that's a reason why he's out there working with Tom House right now to improve as a quarterback. He has a lot of work to do as a passer. He's a hell of a running quarterback, but I think we've all seen that that's not a sustainable way of offense in the 2022 season and beyond. You need a guy who can not dominate, but at least add value as a passer. He can't just be running the ball all the time. We're not looking at a Tim Tebow led offense like we had in Denver when he threw the ball like 6 times a game or whatever it is.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, what do you think about New Orleans kind of gaining more picks in this draft and ultimately kind of mortgaging their future for this year?
I don't know what they expect to really get this year. I think that once Peyton left, I really thought that they were just going to go in full rebuild mode. I thought that Jameis Winston played great last year before his injury, which was a dirty hit. But I thought he was tremendously accurate. He didn't have a lot of turnovers, which was always his problem. I think the offense was really, really good with him. I don't know if Kamara is going to be suspended as of yet for his fight. What was that, right after the Pro Bowl or after the Super Bowl? But we still haven't seen Michael Thomas play. I saw that you posted earlier that this year that Hill is going back to tight end permanently, which is a good thing because he's horrible as a quarterback. But I just think that the Saints should really just focus on maybe rebuilding. I don't know. Try to see what they can get from Kamara. He doesn't have too much wear and tear on him as of yet, because he's not necessarily the prototype bell cow running back, but he does have a lot of use. They could still get some. I'd say that they could probably get a really high second round pick and a third round pick for Kamara, or maybe some team willing to trade a high first. But if I was them, I would just go in full rebuild. They're not going to win anytime soon. The NFC South is going to run through the Bucs until Brady retires. The Panthers won't give them a problem, and the Falcons are in full rebuild right now as it is. Mariota's probably going to lead the NFL in turnovers this year, and I don't foresee Mariota starting for the whole year. But I don't know if we really have to see how Jameis Winston comes back from that ACL, and see how Michael Thomas comes back, or if they're not going to move him. But I really feel that the Saints, they should be looking for their future and not focus on what they can get this year.
Absolutely. I mean, I see your perspective for sure. I think their ultimate goal here is to acquire more draft picks for this season because of their rebuild. I think they're worried that they lost a lot of key pieces in the last couple seasons with Drew Brees, Marcus Williams, several other players that I'm probably forgetting off the top of my head. And like you said, there's no sure thing with Alvin Kamara this season or Michael Thomas. And they've got, Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton as quarterbacks, which, I mean, I guess you got solid veteran quarterback play, but at the same time, they have a lot of holes. And this could actually be a move for a quarterback. What would you make of that?
I'd say if they're going to reach up to draft a quarterback that high, everybody says that this is the weakest quarterback draft we've seen in a few years. So, I would see them moving, maybe getting drafting a second round, like a second round pick quarterback. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because you saw what Andy Dalton did in Chicago and you saw what he did in Dallas. He's no breadwinner anymore. Big Red Rocket, whatever you want to call him. There's a reason why Cincinnati let him go, and there's a reason why Dallas let him go, and there's a reason why Chicago let him go. He's just a bridge quarterback at this point of his career, and he's a capable backup. Kind of like how John Kitna would have been back in the day, but I really think that the Saints should be focusing on drafting for their future. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they picked a quarterback, but picking the quarterback at pick 16 or 18 is, I don't know. I think would be a reach, considering, unless they know something we don't know, like last year, how San Francisco drafted Trey Lance third overall. I don't think really a lot of people, really predicted that, Trey Lance was going to go third overall. A lot of them had him predicted late first round. So it's really about how they like the player and what the player did at their workout or pro day or whatever. So, I think that the Saints have a lot of holes to fill. Like you said, Marcus Williams got paid big to leave, and that leaves a hole in their defense, and that's always been a strong point with the Saints. Is their secondary is hard hitting and plays very well. So It's going to be weird to not see the Saints good for a few years. I think, you know.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, the Saints have been kind of holding on or trying to hold on anyway through the tail end of Drew Brees' career. And then that's why they picked up Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston and all these veteran guys to try and, help the transition. So they weren't necessarily dropping down to Taysom Hill's ability as a passer.
Yeah.
I, for one, am actually kind of sad to see Taysom Hill focus strictly on tight end. I hope they at least have him run the ball. I think he's been dominant as a runner. And especially with Kamara potentially seeing a suspension, he adds depth to the running back.
True H back. I mean, he the stats don't lie. His running ability is tremendous, even out of the quarterback, position, running a wildcat or whatever. But his just productivity as a passer is leaves a lot on the table. But I agree. They should definitely try to utilize him as a three tool player at least.
100%. 100%. I mean, he can definitely still contribute on special teams as a gunner and situations like that. I mean, we've seen him block punts and stuff like that throughout his career. And as you mentioned, he's a prolific runner and a true H-back. He's a guy who can contribute as a blocker, a receiver and a runner. He doesn't necessarily have to only line up as an inline tight end. He can be in the backfield as a true tailback or as a fullback position. He can be even split out wide in the slot, and he can do a lot of things. I'm interested to see how they exactly use him. And moving forward, what they do at quarterback, because with, we both said, Winston and Dalton, they're veteran guys. They definitely still have gas left in the tank, but I don't think they're the long-term answers in New Orleans by any stretch.
Yeah, I agree. Hill creates a lot of mismatches, and I mean it was exploited a lot when they had Brees as quarterback. Even Teddy Bridgewater when he played there, he seemed scared to want to even throw the ball anything other than laterally. So, but anytime Hill was lined up wide or lined up in the red zone, it was almost the ball was going to him. You know what I mean? It was almost guaranteed, and he creates so much mismatches with his size and speed. It's and lining up wide, like you said, he's almost like how Mike Gesicki is with the Dolphins, more of a flanker type, tight end than he is a blocking tight end. But Hill can block, and you don't see many players on the professional level that can do as many different things as he can. It's crazy. You don't want to hate on the guy. As I said, I don't think he's a good passer at all. I don't take that as me saying I don't like him as a player. I think he's what he does is so tremendous. It's just that one thing he can't focus on making him a quarterback because he's just not, you know what I mean? And he's not, He wasn't the answer. And just like what they said when they announced his contract and everybody was, up in arms about the contract he got. But if you looked in the stipulations of incentives and everything else, he wasn't guaranteed, I think, any of that money except for like maybe $2 million or something like that. So the Saints can really just void his contract if they want to, or change terminology in it as they see fit, because I think they were paying him for being a quarterback, but now that if he's going to be a tight end, I think they're going to change whatever the term to be more so whatever the average tight end would be, because there's five. I always say there's five top tight ends in the league. You can add Pitts, I guess, this year, but there's 5 or 6 guys, and then the rest of the guys, they're pretty much all the same. They put up almost similar numbers, but I think he really could be a top tight end in the league if they had a good quarterback to throw it to him, and he focused on his position, 100% of the time rather than just moving around, time to time and running wildcats. And obviously the tight end position hasn't worked for them in a while with Ben Watson, and they let Cook when they had Cook for a season, they let him go. It was, they could really just use him and line him up at tight ends permanently, and I think that he would actually do very well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you mentioned, basically since Jimmy Graham left via that, blockbuster trade a couple years back to Seattle, they've kind of cycled through guys. They had Josh Hill for a minute there. I don't even think he's playing anywhere anymore. They had, like you said, Ben Watson. They had Jared Cook. They've had a bunch of different guys. Last year, they had Juwan Johnson, who I was a big fan of. He's a former receiver, actually converted to tight end. cool guy to watch. But Taysom Hill definitely brings a little bit more dynamic playmaker to the field. Ultimately, I agree. I definitely agree. I think he could be a great tight end. Like I said, I'm still a little sad to not see him, doing everything like he was. But I was always a fan of Taysom Hill. Actually, ironically, he was the first guy I ever won money on when I bet on a football game a couple years ago.
Nice.
Played the Broncos, and he scored 2 touchdowns and won me a parlay bet. So it was kind of cool.
Nice.
But that's neither here nor there. I'm not normally a sports bettor. I literally haven't bet since then. But this definitely isn't a show we're going to talk about betting odds anytime soon or anything like that. Unless one of you guys want to pick up that's perfectly cool too.
Yeah, I'm not big on sports betting as much as I am fantasy football. That's my forte. So.
Really?
Yes,
man. Hey, about that. Not that this is at all related to what we're talking about right now, but we are looking for another guy in our fantasy league if you're interested.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know, and because I run my league, so I'm a commissioner. So sometimes I'm a little busy, and I know I used to do a FanDuel league as well, and I used to do a DraftKings league. Kind of let them go with the 12-team league that I'm in. We do IDP scoring, so we have defensive players as well as offensive players.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really changed the dynamic of the game because at any point, with a sack and a forced fumble or an interception, a defensive player can all of a sudden have a 20-point game. You know what I mean? And it really just changes everything. We do 5 defensive players. We do no kicker, and we do 3 wide receiver. It's standard: 1 flex, 1 tight end, 2 running backs, 1 quarter. I wanted to really get 2 quarterbacks, like a super flex league, and
really,
I have a lot of guys I play with that are traditionalists, and they are opposed to anything change that's like that crazy. And like 3 guys, they threatened to quit the league if we went ahead, because we voted in that we were gonna do a super flex league, and 3 guys were like, no, I'm not playing. And I was like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal to me. I don't want to lose three guys I've been playing with for years. You know what I mean? Over a second quarterback, but it's fun to play. So yeah, I'll definitely talk to you about playing this year. What do you play on ESPN or Yahoo or?
It's Yahoo, but we actually do a super flex league like you were talking about. So we have that second quarterback position. So we have a little bit smaller league. I think we did 8 teams last year. We might go back up to 10. One of the guys that used to play with us wants to come back in, but I didn't have a 10th guy to make it even. So I told him I kind of had to wait to find somebody. But anyway, totally different subject. We'll talk about that off camera. We're definitely, in case anybody has not caught this yet, we are going to be a very fantasy-oriented channel. I'm a huge fantasy football fan. As you just heard, Curtis is as well. LeCedric and Ariel both participate in the league I'm talking about, so they are also big into the fantasy football world. Actually, my first episode coming up next Sunday with LeCedric is going to be fantasy-based. Curtis, you're more than welcome to join us for that if you want to. It's going to be Sunday morning, I believe, 8:30 to 9:30.
Okay.
So that's Mountain Time, for the record. We're out here in Colorado.
About 2 hours ahead of you. So, yeah, that makes it easier on me. I'll be up. But,
absolutely.
Yep, but I appreciate it, and it was good talking to you. I'm almost home now, so I will looking forward to get on another stream with you in the future. But, yeah, again, to rewrap what I think the Saints made a good trade, and I think the Eagles made a good trade, but I actually think the Eagles came out better this year and for next year with the trade they made. So it's a good thing for you. You're an Eagles fan, obviously. So, but you have a good night, and I'll talk to you again.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on, buddy. I'll catch you later.
Yep.
Have a good one. All right. So like I said, that was Curtis Hagan. He is fairly new to the Shady Sports Network group, if you can call it that. I mean, we're all fairly new to the group. It just started a couple days ago. So as I mentioned before, he will be joining us in the future, actually toward the end of the month. I think we settled on the 24th. Don't quote me on that. It's going to be a Sunday. I think it's the last Sunday before the draft. We are going to be doing a mock draft of the first round where each person will do a pick and then we'll go through it. There's going to be 4 of us. So each person will pick 8 different slots. We had originally arranged it to where I was going to be selecting the 15th and 19th pick so I could get 2 of the Eagles picks. However, they screwed it all up and traded both those picks away. So we're not going to change up the order. We've already got the order. I'm just going to live with the fact that I'm not going to get to pick for the Eagles, and that, if somebody else will, that's perfectly okay. But to recap, the Eagles sent the 16th, 19th, and 194th overall picks to the Saints in exchange for the 18th, 101st overall, and 237th overall picks this season, as well as a 2023 first round pick and 2024 second round pick. As mentioned before, I firmly believe this has more to do with the fact that they are not 100% sold on Jalen Hurts as a quarterback than it does anything else. I think Howie Roseman had this in his back pocket all season long. They were hoping that Hurts proved that he could be an elite quarterback, but when it came time to ultimately throw their support behind him, they did it for the 2022 season. But I believe this also has something to do with the fact that we are not looking at a strong draft class. The draft class that we are ultimately looking at in 2022 is actually one of the weakest classes that has been to hit the NFL draft in several years. Honestly, you might even say a decade. Although we have guys like Malik Willis and Sam Howell and a couple other guys that are right there at the top. We have a lot of guys that are just not in the conversation for the first round. We might only see 3 first round picks at quarterback, and it might be even less than that, although I would be shocked to see that. It's been a long time since we've seen less than 3 quarterbacks go in the draft, and I really don't think it's going to change this year. But as I alluded to before, basically this trade accomplishes 2 things for the Eagles. One, it keeps them in the conversation this season by having 2 first-round picks. They still have a slew of picks this year due to all the trades that they've made in years past. Howie Roseman loves to go into drafts with somewhere around 9 to 10 picks. It's pretty common that the Eagles wheel and deal in the draft, so I don't expect them to pick at all these slots they have right now. In fact, we might not even see them select any of these picks that were traded. They might ultimately be part of another package to move up to get a player or something like that. We just don't know yet. The only bit of certainty I can pull from this is the fact that Roseman wanted insurance for the future. And it has to do with Jalen Hurts and his ability to be the starter in 2023 and beyond. They looked at the quarterbacks available in 2022. They saw the price they were going for, and I think they ultimately realized that the improvement they were going to get versus the draft pick compensation they had to give up in order to go get one of these veteran guys just simply didn't make sense. Jalen Hurts had a decently solid season last year. I mean, he actually had comparable numbers to Carson Wentz, who got traded for a conditional second and a 3rd round pick. Ultimately, I still think Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy in Philly. I still think that this year, after working with Tom House, the quarterback guru, he is going to come back and be a much improved passer in year 2 of the offense. He has had a new offense every season prior to this for several years, including back into college. And now he goes into his 2nd season in Sirianni's offense. And this is like the first time since being a sophomore in college that he will have the same scheme 2 years in a row. I think that's going to be huge for his development. And I honestly think that he's going to prove a lot of people wrong in 2022. I think he is ultimately going to go out there and play better than he did last season. And we might even see him put up as high as 27 to 30 touchdowns this season through the air and add the kind of dangerous legs and run game that he's produced in these seasons past. Like I mentioned before, on the New Orleans side of things, we're talking about a team that has a lot of holes to fill. And I think Mickey Loomis has always kind of tried to be relevant every season long. I think that's what's kept him in New Orleans year after year after year, and why he's been there for so long. He actually preceded Sean Payton, who just stepped down. And maybe there's some drama behind the scenes between him and Payton that we did not catch before. I mean, it seems like a lot of things are all of a sudden changing now that Payton's gone. Yeah, Dennis Allen took over as a head coach, and maybe they're building it in his image. But I have a hard time believing that Dennis Allen has such different philosophies to Sean Payton, who he coached next to for so many years. I mean, we've seen, like we mentioned before, Taysom Hill's going to tight end full time. You can catch a video about that in our video register. It was actually just uploaded yesterday, so you should be able to catch that today. And it's one of my better pieces, if I do speak for myself. It's got some news in there about the rules as well. So if you want to catch up on the rule changes for the 2022 season, that's also a good place to catch it. But anyway, losing guys like Drew Brees and Marcus Williams, who were your leaders on offense and defense, I mean, is not a small feat to fill those holes. So ultimately, Loomis needed to make a splash, and adding 2 first-round picks in this draft alone allows him to go out and get 2 prominent players. And maybe we see another trade, and this ultimately is just cannon fodder so he can move up further in the draft to try and select a quarterback. That's still a possibility, although I ultimately think he's comfortable walking into 2022 with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton at quarterback, with Ian Book as the third-string quarterback and kind of developmental guy. I think this trade is more a symptom of his want to continue to kick the can down the road as far as the cap numbers that we are seeing just disappear. Entering this season, the Saints were $80 million over the cap. And I, for one, was telling anybody who wanted to hear it that the Saints were not going to have any money to go out and target free agents, let alone the fact that they couldn't even afford to re-sign their own free agents. Yet Loomis went out and proved me wrong. He not only got them under the cap, but he actually did find the money to go out and bring back Jameis Winston and bring in Andy Dalton to solidify that quarterback room, which also allowed them to move Taysom Hill full-time to tight end, which hopefully, as Curtis said, will fill a position of need that they've had struggles with for many years now. It's interesting to see the different philosophies with how these GMs build teams. And here we have a perfect case study for how 2 different prominent GMs who have been around a long time approach team building. I mean, you got Howie Roseman on one side, who's trying to keep insurance in his back pocket for the future, while on the other side, you got Mickey Loomis, who's trying to keep himself relevant year after year and trying to bring in talent right away rather than wait for it. He's been a guy who's been very aggressive throughout the draft, trading up to acquire players he wants. We actually watched him a couple years ago trade up to acquire a defensive end when everybody else was moving up to get quarterbacks. And this is while Drew Brees was 40 years old and about to retire. So it's very interesting to me, and hopefully you guys as well, to see how these different teams approach team building. And it's only going to get more interesting as we break down this trade as time goes by. I will definitely be doing a breakdown video after the 2022 draft to see how these picks all panned out, the 6 that are in this season. And then, a couple years down the line, maybe you can catch me again for another breakdown video to see what the Eagles did with their other picks. Maybe we're talking about it next season, how the Eagles used all of this to go ahead and target a quarterback and upgrade at quarterback in 2023, although I sincerely hope that's not the case. I'm huge Hurts fan, and I think he's got the mentality to be a franchise quarterback at the NFL level. It's just a question of if he's got the arm talent. That's all I've got for you guys today. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like it on whatever platform you're catching it on right now. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and please do, because we are looking to grow the audience. As I just mentioned before, we've already added 3 contributors to the channel in Curtis, LeCedric, and Ariel. And I'm looking to continue to add people who know more about sports outside of football. It would be awesome to have some coverage of basketball, hockey, and racing on here. I'm a huge car guy. I just simply don't know enough about the racing world to follow it closely. I'm obviously a huge football nerd, and I just haven't gotten into racing in that same capacity. But like I said, if this is something that interests you, hit me up. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you can find me. Basically, I'm everywhere. We're all everywhere when it comes to Shady Sports Network. So please do your part to support us in the future. Like, share, subscribe, all of our videos. I really think we got a good foundation for something big in the future. And I'm looking to continue to grow this. And I can only do that with your help. So once again, I appreciate everything you guys do. and all those people out there liking, sharing, commenting. I see it all. I appreciate everything. Obviously, I'm fairly small in this world still, so the support really means a lot. And to all you players that are agreeing to come on this channel and interview with me and asking me to cover you and stuff like that, that also means a lot. So if you're seeing this video, just know that I appreciate everything everybody is doing to help support us and me personally when it comes to this channel. Speaking of support for this channel, this is time for my obligatory sponsorship mention. So if you guys have caught these videos, you know I am sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek has partnered with me a while back to help provide a discount code for those who want to use their service to pick up tickets. You can get $20 off at checkout using my code SamShady right at the end of the checkout there. On top of that, I'm also working with eBay Memorabilia, wrong subject, and Amazon Music as well to kind of keep this channel afloat. They support me, so do your part. Please go out there and support them. If there's any content you want covered in the future, if there's a story that you think is big enough that needs a video or needs some coverage, please, by all means, hit me up, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Send me where you got your info, and I will absolutely take it to heart and most likely cover it on this channel, depending on the source. Always got to check those sources. But like I said, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks again for supporting the channel, and I will catch you in the next video.